Hey guys, welcome back to Take a Leap. It's James here. Do you think birds are real?
Yes, all birds except crows. Sometimes crows, you see them on light posts. Those are government drones.
I do. They're cute little animals. Got birds at home. My family, we have chickens. Yeah, God definitely created birds.
I do believe in birds. I think they're pretty cool.
I don't know. I feel like this is a trick question, low-key, but yeah, they're real?
Oh, 1000% real.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello. Welcome back to the Take a Leap podcast. I'm Lia.
And I'm Josh.
And we're so excited to be joined today by Becca Black.
Yay!
My thoughts exactly. So, Becca, you are also from Wisconsin.
I surely am.
We love Wisconsin on this podcast. And
Hey now.
And I'm wondering if you could share with our listeners your go-to Kwik Trip order. For those of you who have never been to Wisconsin and have never lived, Kwik Trip is the best gas station of all time.
It's so good. Well, the Glazer is a classic, obviously.
Of course.
If I'm in a savory mood, I like... Have you ever had the Kwik Trip mashed potatoes?
No.
They're so good. They're really good. And then also in the for real machine, the milkshake thing, you can get frozen lemonades and blend them up, and it's like a lemon ice kind of situation, but it's from Kwik Trip, so it's not fancy. But but it is good because it's from Kwik Trip, so it all evens out.
It does. I love... Yeah, the Glazers are classic. We would have those in early morning seminary sometimes. Always the best days, especially if you get the chocolate milk to go with them. Delicious. My favorite are the little veggie trays. I get those on every road trip when I'm in Wisconsin. The ranch is unbeatable.
Yes. Is milk different in Wisconsin than Utah?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We got bagged milk for a while. That was fun.
Baked milk.
Do you have bagged milk here?
I've never put my milk in a bag.
A bag? Pretty much you get it in a bag and then... And then there's like a glass container that you have at home when you put it in there.
You hook it in.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So you never had like carton milk?
I've had carton milk.
Wait, what's that?
But they have like regular when you go to Walmart,
they
still
both.
have it. Okay.
We just eschew them.
It's fresher in a bag.
Okay.
A bag.
Is it the same price, or is it like, oh, you're a bag milk, so you're a fancy milk?
I have to admit, I got cartons of milk from Piggly Wiggly, so I did not get bagged milk.
I haven't thought about Piggly Wiggly in way too long. Oh my gosh.
I don't even know what that
The memories. Piggly Wiggly. Shout
the real one.
This whole episode is just Wisconsin based.
As it should be.
Well,
Becca, would you like to tell us a little bit more about yourself, other than being from Wisconsin,
I know.
of course?
I mean, that is high on the list. But yes, I'm Becca Black. I'm a senior in the Wildlife and Wildlands Conservation Program. I grew up in central Wisconsin, Nakusa. No one's ever heard of it. We love it.
We love Nakusa.
I'll graduate next December, and right now I'm working for a nonprofit called Grow the Flow with the Great Salt Lake.
Sweet.
That is so sick. What is Grow the Flow? What do you guys do?
Yeah, so Grow the Flow, we're a nonprofit, locally based, and we basically are just trying to get water to the Great Salt Lake. So the Great Salt Lake's kind of been in decline since the early 2000s, and with spikes here and there. But 2 years ago, around this time of year, it hit a historic low, and I think it was 10 feet below the lowest level it could be and still be healthy. And so it lost 60% of its surface area, 73% of its water, and everyone was kind of like, ooh, that's a problem. The Great Salt Lake's important. It's around $2.5 billion it brings in annually economically.
Wow.
It also is a huge thing for human health that we've dumped a lot of toxic chemicals and heavy metals into the lake. And so if the lake dries up, that gets into the air. And so that's a big respiratory concern. And then for me, as a wildlife nerd, it's really cool for all the life it supports. So there's 10 million migratory birds that go through the lake every year.
Dang.
And then it also supports 80% of Utah's wetlands. So anyways, it's a really important place. So anyways, we're in 2022, we're sitting here, and the leading scientists on the lake are like, I think this is going, at the rate that we're doing, if we don't cut back our water consumption, the whole ecosystem could collapse in 5 years. Yeah, not a good time. And so a professor in my department, Plant and Wildlife Science, Ben Abbott, released a report in January following that, just talking about ramifications at the lake and, what we can do moving forwards. And then in August that year, he started Grow the Flow with 2 other professors. And so Grow the Flow, there's so many really, really cool NGOs already working on the project, so we cannot take credit for all the good things that have been done. But we kind of are unique in our interdisciplinary approach. We kind of come at it from 3 different angles because, like I said earlier, it's so important to, politics and the environment. You can't just do one thing. And so Rachel Wood at BYU, she's in charge of our research department, and so she's just trying to get better science for lake management decisions. And then Brigham Daniels is over at the University of Utah. And he's so cool. He's working with water law and policy, and they're doing awesome things. And then Ben Abbott, who I mentioned earlier, is in charge of the Public Action Network, which is mostly what I work with. And we're just trying to get all hands on deck for people to get involved. So if anybody listening wants to get involved with Grow the Flow, just go to growtheflowutah.org, and then you can sign up and get involved.
That's sick.
Yeah, super cool. It sounds like you have this vast interest in wildlife conservation. I wonder if you could tell us when you first got interested in that and how you were introduced.
Yeah, I don't know if there was really like one moment that I was like, oh, this is cool. That's always been awesome. And you, being from Wisconsin,
Of course.
know how beautiful it is there. I grew up actually right next to the Wisconsin River, and so I always was pretty spoiled with having beautiful sunrises and birds all over the place and plants all over the place. I went through a really intense bird feeder kick for a while, and then that eventually evolved into an intense nature kick, which I still am in. But I think the moment that I was like, oh, this is ecology would be really cool. I remember it was 6th grade, and I was walking home from school, and we had been talking about ecology in class and biology, and I saw all these like patches of dead grass on the sidewalk, like on the side of the sidewalk. I'm like, oh, that's weird. So I stopped and I looked at it, and in like each of the little dead patches, there was a chunk of the ice melt salt that was in there. And I don't know why, that just blew my tiny little mind, that I was like, whoa, like if things happen in nature, there's a reason, and there's something that you can find out. It's not just some, oh, that was cool, random thing. Like, there's usually something behind it, even if we don't always understand the mechanisms. And so just the relationships between nature and between wildlife and plants and the soil and the environment, I just think it's so cool. And so, I don't know, again, I don't know if there's like one moment, but I've always loved it.
Yeah, that's so cool. I was thinking when you were talking, whenever I go home, one of the biggest things I notice is the sounds of nature that exist in Wisconsin that aren't here in Utah. Like I'm sitting in my front yard and there's trees kind of all around me and I can hear a bunch of different birds. Yeah, it's so fun and it's very different from what we have in Utah.
We don't have cardinals here. Isn't that wild?
No, it's sad.
I took an ornithology class and I hadn't realized we didn't have cardinals. And then like one came up on the screen and everyone was like, wow, I haven't ever seen one of those before. I was like, really? We had a nesting pair outside my window.
Pretty. Yeah, especially when it's like snow and then a red cardinal comes in the
very
branch.
Christmas card.
It is. But you see it in real life. It's great.
Not here though.
Tragic.
See, I have beef with birds. Are you ready for this? When I was like 3 years old, I went to the Houston Zoo and got pooped on.
Nice.
And ever since then, I just
what kind of bird? Was it like...
I don't know.
Was it an exhibit or was it like a pigeon?
No, I think it was at an exhibit. I think it was like one of those things where you go through the tunnel.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm only
getting
3.
terrorized by a cockatoo.
Yeah. So I'm like sitting in the stroller, I think, or something.
This was formative.
And I still remember
ever
it.
since then.
Ever since then, I'm just like,
that was the day he started
birds.
duck hunting.
And then I just kill all the birds.
No, Joshua.
But then I moved to Utah, right? And there's just seagulls everywhere, and they're the worst too. But they like saved the pioneers, so we have to.
I guess
revere
they're
them.
fine. I suppose.
And I guess the Great Salt Lake.
Whatever.
But it's so funny. I think it's awesome that like when you even as a little kid, it can like, for better or worse, lead your passions and like lead like, oh, like I love wildlife and I want to go into it, or I hate birds in my case.
Yes, I hate birds and I want to destroy them.
That's
it's a
why
real
I'm studying
motivation.
Political science.
I knew it.
All these birds are actually drones and they're going to get us.
It's all coming together.
Do you think that your faith plays a role at all in like wanting to conserve the environment and go into what you're going into?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's so many experiences I've had in nature that have really helped grow my testimony of God and, you know, his love and attention for all the small details in life. And so that's been really beautiful for me to see, because sometimes I feel like, I'm not going to quote this exactly right, but there's an author I really like called Aldo Leopold, and he's a pretty big deal in my field. And there's a quote from him saying it's like something like, to be an ecologist is to be alone in a world of wounds or something like that. It's kind of melodramatic, but like the idea is like it's really easy, and I feel like everyone sees this in their fields of like, here's something I care about so much, and people just don't know what's going on. And it's easy to kind of get depressed about that, but I feel like knowing that there is a creator that put this all here in the first place and that he knows all of it better than I ever will. And I think our theology is so cool. Yeah. Environmentally, we have a lot of things. So even just, you know, that ultimately for us, heaven is going to be earth again. We're not working to leave earth, we're working to stay here. And I think that's so beautiful. And it also, like I was saying, it can be hard working in conservation and restoration work sometimes, just because change takes a very long time to happen. I'm sure, as you know, as a political science major or as an editor, like things take a long time to happen, but especially on a biological scale, like an ecosystem, if it's been degraded, it can take years and, decades and plus to come back to a functioning level. And then when you see people not caring, or when legislation comes out that you feel like is contrary to the progress you would like to see, it can be really easy to be like, why do I bother doing this? This sucks. But I've just felt really strongly every time that I get really down that, again, God is very conscious of what is going on. And I think him coming back and restoring things, as, again, we believe in our faith, isn't an excuse for us to just walk away and be like, oh, well, I'll be okay, whatever. In the same way that if you broke your arm, it will heal eventually, or that your body will be restored eventually, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't still try to take care of it now. And so I think it's just such a privilege to feel like I'm working alongside something that God loves so much, and that he does take care of it, and he does have a plan for it.
Yeah, I think that's so beautifully said. I think that it's amazing that like God could even forgive Lia for giving you a plastic water bottle.
Or for you for hating all the birds.
I'm so sorry. I'm embarrassed of the plastic water bottle on this table.
Before my mission, I don't think I really cared that much. I care about the wildlife. I care about things being good, and I recognize, this earth is a gift from God. But it's not like that pressing, it's not like I'm going out to the Great Salt Lake and like measuring water levels. But then I served in this place called the Marshall Islands, and they're drowning.
Yeah.
So it's kind of tough when, like, even while I was there were parts of parts of the year where sections of the island are just completely underwater. And it's like, oh, man. And even some people there, are like, oh, they told us like 50 years ago that we'd be drowned by now, and we're not yet. So God is protecting us. So there's a view where like, oh, yeah, God will take care of it. But there's also a view where like, well, God gave it to us to be stewards over it and like to protect it. And I think, you have to rely on God, but also do what he asks.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's a really cool dimension that you mentioned that I've talked to a lot of people about recently, because obviously my major and the people that I interact with were all like the birds, the plants, the soil. But that's not always what people's top priorities are, and that's okay. But people generally really care about people. And in our church, we have a huge emphasis on humanitarian work. And, climate change and biodiversity loss is a huge humanitarian issue. Like the people you served on the Marshall Islands. And so I feel like for me, working on this issue also helps me help people.
Yeah.
And I think that's a way that I can reach people that might not otherwise care about the cardinals, even though they're lovely, that you're like, no, if we don't have these resources, then we aren't going to be able to serve all of God's children. And so I love that you brought that up, because it's so important.
Right.
Yeah, I love how you brought it back to serving people, because that is, at the end of the day, what God wants us to do, is serve each other. And I love that you're doing it through the environment. We talked about this a little bit with the plastic water bottle, but what do you think?
There it is.
I'm sorry. What do you think are some of the biggest threats to our wildlife, other than me?
Yeah, Lia number one. I think, well, it depends on the wildlife in question,
right,
or the ecosystem you're in. Pollution is a big one, with like light pollution, air pollution, water pollution. But that's also pretty vague, because each of that you can break it down and be like, well, is it industry? Is it cars? Is it yada, yada, yada?
Yeah.
I think, honestly, the number one threat that I see personally is apathy. All of these things happen because we don't care. And so I feel like, yeah, we can talk all day about air pollution is cutting this many lives off, like this many years off lives, and taking out this many wildlife. And it's true. It's such a problem. But the reason that we're okay with doing that in the first place is because we don't see it as an issue. And so I think the only way to like actually change things is to get people to start thinking and living like what they do matters to not only themselves, but to future generations, and also to, all of our neighbors and the environment around us.
I love that. I wonder, you talked a little bit about people who we should not look up to. I wonder if you have someone who you do look up to in terms of environmentalism, as an example.
Living or dead?
Ooh.
Okay.
I don't know either.
Do one of each.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Living, there are so many amazing people doing so many cool things. I'm really interested in environmental humanities, so for both of them, I'll give an answer that's an author, because I think that's a good way to decrease apathy is to reach people through the humanities. You can't just do science. You have to be a communicator too.
Yeah.
So there's an author right now. She's still alive, thankfully, called Robin Wall Kimmer, and she's published a few books. And she's an Indigenous scientist, and she's also a botanist. And she talks a lot about what I was just talking about we need to see ourselves as part of the ecosystem. And I think the way that she sees the world and interacts with the world is so beautiful. And I think she's also learned how to touch people's hearts in a way that I don't see a lot of people doing. And so I'd really love to sit down with her and pick her brain and learn about her life experiences and talk about her cat. I don't know, she seems really cool. And then dead, oh man, there's so many cool people, gosh.
There's so many awesome dead people
There's
out
so
there.
many cool dead people. Why do they all die? Man. Well, okay. Aldo Leopold is very cool. He's an author I mentioned earlier. But I will pivot, actually. There's one of his colleagues, also from Wisconsin. Aldo Leopold's from Wisconsin.
Yes,
Fun fact. Shout out to Aldo. His name is Wallace Grange, and he and his wife, actually, they did a lot of land management pretty close to where I grew up. And they have a book that isn't super well known, but it's called Live Arrival Guaranteed. And it's just about their experiences learning to love and take care of the land in central Wisconsin. And it's written by Hazel. And she seems just like a very fun person, but both of them, I feel like, have a very practical understanding of all of these things we've been talking about. Like, how do you actually put that into practice? And I just think they're the coolest. So I would love to talk to them.
That's awesome. I feel like, obviously, getting the word out, especially if you think that the biggest problem is apathy and people not caring, then communicating like why it matters is probably the biggest solution to that.
Yes.
And you are a communications co-manager for Grow the Flow, right?
Yes.
So how do you do that? Like, what are ways that you can help people get to know, besides
get
coming on a
interested.
great podcast called Pick a Lead?
This is number one, obviously. Yeah, I think most of my work revolves around social media. So shout out to Grow the Flow Utah on Instagram. You should follow us.
Yeah, everyone go on Instagram.
We post a lot of just environmental education stuff of like, did you know this cool bird is here and it does this thing? And everyone's like, whoa, because that's the appropriate reaction.
Yeah, everyone in the comments says whoa and nothing else.
That's it. Just whoa. Yeah, so we post a lot of just things that people don't always know about, but then also we post opportunities for people to get involved and, either opportunities we're offering or other organizations we work with of like, hey, this is happening in your backyard and you don't have to dedicate your whole career to this, but you can show up to something and plant a tree like this. You can do that for an afternoon. I believe in you, stuff like that. And then some of our work is related to policy. So we also, especially during the legislative session, we do a lot of work of, hey, there's this bill coming through. What does it mean? How can you actually get involved in the democratic process? How can you contact your representatives? And that's been really eye-opening and cool for me because before getting into this, cover your ears, political science major. I don't know how important I thought politics was. I knew it was important, but I didn't really track it that closely. And I just kind of was dismissive. But since working, with something like the Great Salt Lake, I've just realized how much our people guide our representatives and how it's important for people to communicate to their representatives what's important to them. Constituents need to be involved in the process. So I feel like part of communication is just connection of here's this idea you didn't know about and what can you go do about it, whether that's volunteering, whether that's reaching out to your legislatures or anyways. Yeah, so that's mostly what I do.
I'm excited about this question.
Yeah, you can ask another question. Go ahead.
Do you mind?
No, go for it.
Top 3 ecosystems.
Oh man, there's so many cool ones. It's hard to choose. Okay, number 1, my loyalty will always be river ecosystems because that's where I grew up. So
Of course.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I gotta say it. But so I really love, they're called riparian systems. And so it's riparians, anything, the land that's adjacent to a water body. So it isn't just rivers, it could be creeks or lakes or what have you. I really love wetlands and marshes and fens and bogs. They are actually different things, but for sake of argument, they are very similar.
Yeah, we'll group them together.
It's about levels of acidity and whatever. Anywho, those are super cool. And have you spent because Nina, you're by Lake Winnebago, right? There should be a lot of wetlands over there. Have you heard the red-winged blackbirds? Anyways,
Yes, I was attacked by one when I was like 6, and I'm traumatized, and now I don't like birds.
A running theme. Oh my gosh.
The Take a Leap podcast is
I didn't want to
strong.
say.
So we've been attacked by birds.
I was scared that if both of the hosts of Take a Leap didn't like birds, you'd be like, all right, I gotta.
And I'm out.
Here we go.
No, you're good.
No,
But-
I am
But they
familiar
sound
with them.
so pretty. And
They
so
do.
I love
Except for
wetlands.
when they're
Except for when they're attacking you. At least they sound
Yeah.
nice while they're doing it.
Yeah.
So those are great. And then there's these really cool ecosystems in Wisconsin called oak barrens that is basically you have a big prairie, but then you have big oak stands in the middle. So it's kind of where the oak forest and the prairies meet. And it's cool because you have like the succession of trees growing in over the prairie, but then the prairie comes through and like fires wipe out the oak. So it's kind of like the conflict point. It's not necessarily conflict because it is an equilibrium, but you get really cool species in that ecosystem, and it's pretty unique to the upper Midwest. So, I mean, not to only pick ecosystems in Wisconsin. I also love the wetlands here, and the desert's beautiful, and the mountains are beautiful. If you can't tell, I just think it's all cool. So, yeah.
I'm just wondering if you could point to like a specific example of faith. I feel like we should end on a kind of spiritual note, you know?
Sure, we can.
Might as well. Like an experience that you've had in nature that really has connected you to God.
Yeah. I'm going to have to think about that. There's been so many.
Yeah, go ahead.
Not to just keep bringing up Wisconsin, my gracious. I do talk about other things, I swear. But it was really hard for me moving out from Midwest and then coming out to Utah. And Utah is beautiful, and I love it here, and I've really enjoyed my time, but I definitely miss home a lot. And so freshman year, it was definitely a struggle of just feeling like I not belonged with the people, because that wasn't a problem, but more just like could see myself being at home here. And I remember one day at that point, I just kind of decided, I'm like, okay, I'll be here for 4 years and then I'll dip and then whatever. And I'd actually gone out to Great Salt Lake with a class, and I was standing on the very edge of the lake, and I was just listening, and it just sounded so similar. All the sounds of the birds were different, and obviously the water's different, but just the sounds of the ecosystem reminded me a lot of home and, you know, being at my river. And I just felt a lot of peace about knowing that wherever I do end up in life, and even if it's not exactly where I think I will be, that there is this constant in my life in nature, but then also in God, and that God was the one that created everything. And so even though I'm not exactly geographically in the same place, that I can still have those same experiences and still have a relationship with the place that I live. And it made me a lot more excited to work and live in Utah. And then it made me okay with being away from home. And I think that's the real power of, you know, finding God in nature and connecting with their heavenly parents, is that we're able to have that connection and have that peace. And so, yeah.
That's a great answer. I'm thinking about when I lived in Wisconsin, and I would go on this same drive whenever I was feeling upset or just, I don't know, angry, or I had a question. I would go on the same drive, and I would go under these trees that kind of arched together. And then you like broke out under the trees, and there was this beautiful blue sky and farmland everywhere. And it kind of became sort of a like religious practice almost, or a spiritual practice. I would go on this drive whenever I had a question and just talk to God as I was driving. And I miss that about Wisconsin, but I do the drive whenever I go home. And I've never shown anyone the drive, so it's a little secret for myself. Sorry to my family who's listening and doesn't know this magical drive. But yeah, I just think there's so much power in nature and God. It was so fun to have a fellow Wisconsinite on the show and talk about the different places we've been and our Kwik Trip gas station order. But it was also really great to learn about environmental stewardship from Becca Black. So thanks, Becca, for coming and talking to us. If you enjoyed this or other episodes of Take a Leap, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It would greatly help us out. If you liked this episode, check out episode 1 of Take a Leap. I know, going way back. We talked to Lauren Kim about climate change. Lauren and Becca are both amazing young women doing great things in the world, and we were blessed to be able to talk to both of them. If you made it this far, thank you. I love you. And I'll see you next week with another episode of Take a Leap. Bye-bye.